Sir, a second delay has hit the game.
When I'm with you.
Remember this roadmap?
You serious?
Overpromise, underdeliver, delay. CA managed to take one of the easiest bags of their life and just constantly fumble it with delays, controversy, questionable financial decisions, and frankly just some absolute clown antics, leading to the Total War franchise being on life support, barely held together by their most dedicated fans. And you know what? I am one of those fans. I have over 10,000 hours in Total War Warhammer, and I might like the game a little bit too much, judging by some of the stuff I play. I've seen it all from start to finish. Total War Warhammer 3 is my GOAT game. It had all the hype, it had all the pizzazz to become a mainstream juggernaut. But now, if some massive changes aren't made to the Total War IP, it will simply continue to taper off. It's February 2022. Absolute gas trailer dropped with the Snow Bunny Queen, Katerin. Warhammer Total War 3 is the most anticipated game on Steam, at least for that month. Even people who aren't familiar with the Total War IP are eyeing it up like, "Shee, man, I'm gonna have to tap in." And then it releases. Guys, I think we messed up. The release was just atrocious, riddled with bugs, performance issues, but those were all things you could overlook. But the giga-brain minds at CA decided to drop Warhammer 3 without 90% of the playable factions. And this would have actually been fine temporarily if they wouldn't have added a forced game mode, the only game mode in the game, and lock you into a set part of the map while they force you into a narrative campaign where infinite demons spawn in the middle of your lands with virtually no counterplay. To say it was a huge letdown from Warhammer 2, which was mainly a sandbox with 13 races, the pure amount of baffling changes to balance and reworking entire systems turned a lot of people off, and the Steam reviews tanked to overwhelmingly negative. But there was hope. Master CA said, "Don't worry about it, man. Mortal Empires is right around the corner." Wake up, Immortal Empire's release!
Huh?
This is the second peak of Total War Warhammer 3 past the initial launch. Was there jank? Yes. Was it technically a beta build for another 6 months? Also yes, but that didn't matter. Shit was gas, combining the new and the old factions. An absolutely massive campaign map unlike anything done before. Along with this, we got the news of the next DLC factions to drop, with the new format of 4 legendary lords for each of the Chaos Gods, and a widely anticipated rework for the Wards of Chaos. Community sentiment, while not fully recovered, people were happy to move past the disastrous launch and just wanted more content, along with ironing out a few kinks. And the people got what they wanted. Now, it still did take a considerable amount of time, but nothing crazy yet. The Walk rework was generally well received. Then came the Chaos Dwarf DLC, a super hyped faction. Everyone wanted this, but it's also where the cracks really started to show on the CA management side of things. From that last update, it took around 7 months and 21 days from that last DLC, August 2022 to April 2023, which for a new game release that already had a 6-month delay release just to get all the previous factions in the game, it was a real steep cliff. We're talking 1 year plus. People were already hopping off the hype train more than 12 months ago. It was simply not the time for a CA to be sitting back and relaxing. Luckily, the hype of the Chowie DLC did overcome most of these difficulties temporarily, and it was technically a brand new race, not just adding stuff to an existing faction with a Lord pack, and was overall made pretty well. And along with this, we also eventually got the absolutely cursed second roadmap. Oh my gosh, this is aged like Centigore milk. Yummy. It's really where it felt like things just took a nosedive off the cliff for the franchise. All CA had to do at this point was keep releasing similar or better quality DLC as they had done for so many years, and the game would continue to grow. They had an easy recipe for success. They just needed to make sure they didn't burn down the kitchen. Shadows of change. The little smidgen of goodwill CA had swept away in one fatal swoop. People had already begun to notice that for a new player to actually play every single faction, they would have to spend $500 at full price. Now, to give credit, everything's usually on sale for Warhammer, and if you were to buy everything during a sale, you're looking closer to $250, but even that is hella steep just to play with all the factions. And remember, the game mode of Mortal Empires that pretty much everyone plays that instantly killed Realms of Chaos on its release, to actually play it and not be locked to that Realms of Chaos, you had to own both Warhammer 2 and Warhammer 3 to play. $60 base for each game, $120, but again, 2 went on sale pretty often, so you're more realistically looking at $80. But that was required to even play Immortal Empires. It wasn't optional, so it was really hard to come in as anyone new and be willing to drop some fat hundos to even play that, when the base game of 3 was just Realms of Chaos, which, as we've established, was hella dookie. It was a really bad impression, and it turned a lot of potential fans off of the game, which really could be felt in the community, and Shadows of Change was that final breaking point. An insane jump from the normal $9.99 for a Lord Pack to a whopping $24.99 at base price. A mind-boggling 150% increase. CA tried to justify this price hike with, the usual spiel. Cost erupts. Hey, look, we're adding a little bit of extra content and extra Lord. But the community was not buying it. Quite literally, as they started up a boycott of people simply not purchasing the new DLC till CA made a change. CA tried acting like everything was okay, but with some pressure from Legend of Total War and the community, they finally buckled. Number 1, Immortal Empires was unlocked for everyone who owned even just Warhammer 3, and while they didn't reduce the price by much, they went back and added more content for the previously released Shadows of Change DLC for free, I suppose to just make it worth it. And honestly, while all those things were good, the real kicker was just the time and the potential players that are already lost that were never gonna come back to the game because that initial impression was so bad. The time it actually took for everything to get resolved and say to kind of start locking in, 6 months from release to some real content updates, it just killed the engagement and the growth. While the controversy was bad, what would be much worse was if the game became straight up obsolete with how long the updates were taking and for CA to make changes in response to how the community sentiment was. CA kept having to go back, fix their mistakes, making the mistakes again, and then taking so long to actually remedy them, the hype was just completely cooked, and things were only gonna get worse. The gigaminds at CA were allegedly diverting the profits from Total War, Warhammer, and their other IPs to try to capitalize on the hero shooter genre, when it was already kind of dying, because this was directly before Marvel Rivals came out and kind of revived the whole thing along with some Overwatch updates. And their hero shooter was Hyenas, an absolutely vapid game that nobody wanted or cared for. It was just a hard sell to anybody to actually be interested in it, especially with how dog shit it looked from a consumer perspective and honestly from a company perspective. CA is not a hero shooter game maker. Their real strength has always been Total War, and pretty much everyone was just confused and clowning on them because it made no sense. Allegedly, the production of Hyenas costed between $70 and $100 million, and while CA had cash flow, it's not enough to have a $100 million flop and just brush it off, but that's exactly what they got. With the reception to Hyenas being so cold and low, we're talking Concord levels here, CA had to face the music and quietly can Hyenas, having to eat a $100 million loss of a completely unrelated game that would directly impact Total War Warhammer 3's production cycle and slow down the already hyper slow release cycles. People got laid off, and it honestly felt like the whole thing could be canned at any moment. If the next DLC didn't hit, it was probably going to be over for Warhammer 3 and potentially CA as a whole, especially with their other property, Total War Pharaoh Egypt, somehow managing to do even worse with abysmal player numbers. Like, it's actually ridiculous how terrible Total War Pharaoh did. Thrones of Decay. Or should I say delay? Almost 8 months later, released in April 30th, 2024, a far cry from the winter 2023 release date on the roadmap, so delayed it was simply comical, thus earning the name Thrones of Delay from the community. Luckily for everyone, it was a smash hit. Like I said, all CA really needs to do was just release solid DLC and not try any wacky shit. Just chill the hell out and make some juicy DLC. It's all the community wanted, and they finally got it with Thrones. But even with Thrones' success, keeping CA and Total War Warhammer 3 afloat, the game just still has not recovered, and is just kind of maintaining this life support state, a far cry from the mainstream status potential that it once had. Again, all CA needed to do was just release DLC, no fluff. Back in Warhammer 2, CA had essentially the same game, and they followed that same format, and look where they ended up. At least before Warhammer 3, all that hype was pretty much because CA had done such a great job. At the current moment, CA is releasing a lot of these like fluff AI changes, which are cool, doing reworks, they're cool, but Total War Warhammer 3 is a game with so much potential. It dominates its niche. There is quite literally no game like it at its level, even close. But after chasing an imaginary golden egg, CA has just lost the plot, stumbling again and again from a game that could have catapulted them and Total War Warhammer to a whole new stratosphere. Just look at 40k. But now the whole franchise just has an aura of doom and gloom, caused solely by the hands of CA fumbling the easiest lob ever. Tried to add stuff that was unwanted, and frankly had a little bit of a arrogance air till it was too late. There has been another DLC, Omens of Destruction, made in only 5 months, better than before, but the budget cuts were apparent, with this trailer taking a step back from the cinematic masterpieces, to CA's credit, that came before. The sentiment around the whole thing was just mid. Not bad, not crazy good, but pretty good. Mid, nothing wrong with that, which at the stage CA was simply not good enough, sadly. They needed something bigger like Thrones of Decay. You know, I used to ignore that hearsay that Warhammer 3 support was coming to a close soon, and that, oh, it might all get shut down early. I just completely ignored it. But recently, with some devastating news, I fear CA may have truly fumbled on Total War Warhammer 3 for the last time, completely killing a game that could have had the support for 5+ more years. Easily. So many characters, so many races, such a deep lore, and people that want it, completely fumbled. The next DLC, Tides of Torment, it's another one like Thrones of Decay will either make or break the franchise. If it flops and CA doesn't lock in, don't be shocked to hear the game getting canned like Three Kingdoms after probably an End Times DLC at the very least. Tides of Torment has already been delayed from a summer release to an unspecified date later this year. Absolutely devastating news for me, and it's the moment I was like, okay, it might really be cooked if CA doesn't lock in and stop stumbling, because we don't even know when it'll release. It could be December 31st, it could be the day after August. We just don't know, and frankly, it's killed the hype. It's already been almost 8 months since the Omens of Destruction release. No DLC, no real new and impactful content, just little fluff. While cool that you play for like a couple days, is not something that's gonna keep the game alive. And that Omen of Destruction, that last DLC, it might turn out to be a true omen if CA doesn't pull themselves up and just create stuff. No funny breaks, no excuses. I know, spaghetti code. Like, what are you talking about spaghetti for, man? I ain't even hungry. But at the end of the day, what this game needs is drop content. Monkey King, Yin Yin, Eagle Von Horseman, all with so much deep lore and are hyper hyped characters that people are dying for in Total War Warhammer 3. This game can revive like a phoenix, but 7+ month long DLC cycles are just too long. People are just tired of waiting and all the fumbling. The game is dying out quicker and quicker, day by day, and it's gonna continue to tumble to obscurity within a year. Personally, me and my friends, we used to just play Warhammer, and now those same communities are playing other games while there's this big lull in the Warhammer scene. Like, shit is tough out here to be a Total War Warhammer fan. And that's the whole reason I made this video. I just wanted to chronicle how astronomically massive the bag has been fumbled on CA's part, like just through the entire life cycle of Warhammer 3, but to say that there's hope as well. Cut down on that production schedule. Maybe bring it back to 2 Lords if you can't do 3. It's an easy formula. Lords, units, faction mechanics, that's all it needs. Be consistent, or the player base will continue to dry up till there's nothing left. I want to give CA credit too, and they do seem to be picking themselves up. The devs talks are cool, I actually really enjoy them, but it's just not enough with an average DLC release timeline of 7 months per DLC for Warhammer 3, compared to the around 4 to 3 a year that was typical in Total War Warhammer 2. Unless the game is course corrected sooner than last time, Total War Warhammer 3 will go down as one of the biggest gaming fumbles of all time, I truly believe, with the potential to reach the stars and ending up laid out face first on the floor. I hope CA and any Total War Warhammer fan can look at this video and realize, yeah, the game was fumbled, we're in the dookie, but there's still time. Now the game can't really handle any more delays, but maybe scale back that content. Simply, please, simply just release new content. Don't overthink things. At this point in the game, even if things release a little bit janky, we just can't really handle any more delays. As long as content that's new is released, people are going to be happy. And even if it's janky and buggy, as Total War Warhammer has been since the beginning, as long as there's an attempt to listen to feedback, and people know like, hey, if something's wrong, say we'll try to fix it in a timely manner, things are going to be looking up, because I truly believe Warhammer is one of those games that, if handled properly, can just be a juggernaut in the industry, and I firmly believe this. And that's why I think this is just such a huge fumble throughout the entire way, but it's still not over. I know the excuses, they're cool, but we need a change, because the reality is that the game is getting close to being canned. Let's just be honest here. Unless something changes. Now, CA, this is from me to you. Please release Yin Yin. I need this. Give me Yin Yin and my life is yours. The Score Dragon is all I need. She will save Warhammer, I promise. Do not end support before she's added. Please, I need this. The Grand Cathay Coast is kind of homeless, and I'm getting really sad. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this juicy content. Check out the Discord if you guys want to discuss things or just hang out. I'm always around. Leave a comment about how you think things are going. I just wanted to get this out, so hopefully things can start to turn around for the better and people can just kind of get a general overview of the situation with the view of the war god. You're the goats, I'm the god. See you next time.